So, what do you think some of the tax strategies, for people out there looking for them? What are some of maybe what's some of the low-hanging fruit? What are some things that they can get themselves into that would be worthwhile?
Yeah, very good. When we're talking about the money we sock away for long-term goals like retirement, okay? So let's talk about that one. Many times, again, people think, well, I want to use 100-cent dollars, pre-tax dollars, to contribute into a traditional account like an IRA or 401k. Now, sounds good, but let me use this little metaphor. If you were a farmer, Patrick, and you had the choice of buying your seed in the springtime, and you didn't have to pay tax on what you paid for your seed. So you plant your seed, you cultivate it, you water it, you work hard, and in the fall of life, you harvest. And now you agree to pay tax on what you sell your harvest for. That's a traditional IRA 401k pension profit sharing plan. You get a tax break on the seed money, it accumulates tax deferred, and then you're supposed to take it out and pay tax on it on the back end. It's the best savings bond the government ever came up with for themselves. Wow. See, people don't realize Uncle Sam has a permanent tax lien on that tax-deferred IRA or 401k. So it's not all your money.
Right.
So when people would come to me, and I've coached many successful entrepreneurs and doctors and dentists and orthodontists and chiropractors and also realtors and CPAs and tax attorneys, and they would come in and they would almost thump themselves on the chest, okay? Well, I got $1 million here in my IRA. And I go, well, that's not all your money. I ask you to bring your after-tax IRA 401k statements. Well, I don't know if I've ever gotten one of those. Oh, let me calculate that for you. See, this million isn't all your money. Only about 650,000 of it is yours.
Wow.
See, if you have $1 million and you are earning, you think you can earn 10%? Yeah. Well, so 10% on $1 million, you should be able to pull out $100,000 a year into perpetuity and never deplete the $1 million, right? Well, so you pull out 100,000, and all of a sudden you owe tax of 25,000 or 30,000. So you only have 70,000 left over to buy gas, groceries, prescriptions, golf green fees. Well, I needed 100. So you go back for the 30,000 you were short because you paid tax. Okay, now I got that 30, and you go, hold on. No, Uncle Sam's going to take 10 of that 30,000. So you only have 20. So you're still 10,000 short. You go back again, and you pull out another 10, and they take 3,500 of that, and you go back and forth, and you go, well, this is stupid. How much should I have pulled out in the first place to net, 70,000? Well, you should have pulled out probably about 150 grand, okay? You pull out 150, you pay tax, let's say, of a third of 50, you're to net 100. At a 10% rate of return, Patrick, that $1 million nest egg will be totally gone, drained dry in 11 years.
Wow.
If that $1 million were tax-free, you pull out 100,000. The IRS knows you're receiving it. My clients know they receive 100,000, but it's not deemed earned, passive, or portfolio income. Right. Those are the only three types of income since 1986 that are taxable on a 1040 tax return. So it's not a tax loophole, but if you pull out 100 out of my favorite vehicle, which I call the Laser Fund, which is the title of my most recent book, you pull it out and it's tax-free, so you can spend the whole 100 grand. So in 11 years, when people with the same $1 million don't have anything left, and guess what life expectancy is now for a baby boomer couple?
It's going to be in the low 80s or?
No. Back when the Industrial Revolution came out and they retired worn-out equipment, okay, and then they started to retire worn-out people.
Right.
See? People used to never retire. See, I hate the word retire.
Yeah.
It means put out of use.
Right.
So when people were put out of use, they retired, the life expectancy was only 7 years. For a military retiree, only 5 years. So the whole Social Security system was designed never to have to pay benefits for more than an average of 7 years.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons we're $130 trillion in debt in Social Security liabilities or obligations that the government hasn't collected yet. Okay. Now, the point is this. When you live to be now a baby boomer couple, one of you will make it to probably 95 or 96. So if you're out of money, let's say you retired at 65, and your traditional accounts, because you've been taxed to death, plus inflation's cutting the value of that in half every 7 to 10 years. If you're out of money in 11 years at age 76, and you're going to live to 96, that's 20 years. Now you're going to rely on what? Social Security, welfare, or your children for support?
Right.
No, who wants to do that?
Right.
If you had a nest egg that could generate $100,000 a year tax-free, it doesn't deplete your principal. That's 20 more years of $100,000. That's $2 million.
Right.
And you still have your principal of $1 million. So what I would do is help a lot of people not outlive their money by switching or doing a strategic rollout from things like IRAs or 401ks with a 3-part strategy. Let's get it out of there. Let's get the taxes over and done with sooner than later. Because 2 things are certain. Money will never be worth more than it is today because of inflation, government spending, and so forth. And number 2, your current tax bracket is likely the lowest bracket you will ever be in. So why do you want to postpone tax, defer it to some future perceived unknown advantage, and then take out your money when you're convinced taxes are not going to be lower?
And that's the big lie, isn't it? About, as you said earlier, is that your taxes are going to be lower in the future, so accumulate your money now, and then you're going to pay less tax. But is the tax in the future, whatever that future is it based on the amount of money you're pulling out, or income you're making now, or is that seen as income when you're pulling it out? Like, why is the tax bracket going to be high in the future?
Good question. It's because a lot of people have been going down the highway of life, trying to achieve financial independence with one foot on the gas pedal and the other foot on the brake pedal. Does that sound smart? Let me explain it. So people think I'm going to use 100-cent tax-favored dollars on the seed money, traditional IRAs, 401ks, because I'm going to be in a lower bracket because I'll be earning less. Let's take a school teacher, for example. A school teacher, typically in most states, if they taught school for 30 years, they will get, under the state pensions, 2% for every year of service they taught school. So if you taught school for 30 years, 30 times 2% is 60%. Let's say a school teacher retired making $5,000 a month. Well, they're only going to get $3,000 a month on their defined benefit pension. And they go, well, I can't handle that. So what do? They sock away excess money, which they should, in supplemental accounts like IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, tax-sheltered annuities, and what have you. I can count on my hand the number of people who were in lower tax brackets when they retired. If you're in a lower bracket, it means you didn't save very much. So what happens is the other foot on the brake pedal is they kill their deductions while they're doing it. So most people pay off their house. You don't have that tax deduction anymore. They're not contributing money in retirement to IRAs, 401ks, and 403bs. You don't have that deduction anymore. The kids are gone. Or if they're not gone, you can't deduct them anymore. Okay? Or if they're a business owner, you don't have those deductions anymore. And Congress keeps raising taxes over and over again. So that's what I mean. You had one foot on the gas pedal trying to save and defer to a future date when you thought you were going to be in a lower bracket. And then you hit retirement and all your deductions are gone because you had the other foot on the brake pedal. And then people pull out that money and they have to pay tax. And so many times people don't need their money, but at age 70 and a half, if you do not withdraw out of an IRA or 401k or any of these plans at what the government says you're supposed to based upon your LE, that's life expectancy, guess what the penalty is?
There's a penalty for it?
50%.
So
if you're supposed to pull out, let's say $50,000 starting at age 70 and a half, and it goes up each year, okay, $50,000, and you don't, the penalty is $25,000, 50% of what you should have pulled out, plus you pay full tax on the whole 50.
Wow.
See, the government wants that money out and taxed before you die so they can tax you again when you do die, because it's the best savings bond they ever came up with for themselves.
Wow.
And so I would switch that philosophy. So in 1997, under the Taxpayer Relief Act, there was a senator by the name of Harry Roth. Okay? And at the time, the government was hard up for money because the government loves to start cashing in and getting their piece of that action. Right. See, if you and I were a business partnership and I come to you and I say, Patrick, okay, this is the deal. We're going to go into a partnership together. Now, you're going to do all the work. And you're going to build this business, and I own a third. Okay, I'm a third partner in this thing. And here's the deal. If you sell out or try to get out of this partnership prematurely, I'm going to get my third and penalize you 10% on top of that. See, an IRA or 401k, you're penalized 10% if you touch it before age 59 and a half.
Right.
But down the road, when you begin to liquidate the business, I get a third of it. But if you don't sell it by the time I want you to, then I'm going to penalize you 50%. And by the way, I reserve the right to change the percentage if I feel like I'm more hard up than you. I can change my percentage to more than a third, up to 40%, and force you to pay me more. Is that a good partnership?
First of all, I had no idea that they could change it on you, meaning that you could have planned for decades and then they can just change it and there goes your plan.
They can change, well, government changes tax rates all the time.
Right.
They can change the percentage they want. They can change when they have you access and so forth.
Wow.
And people go, I would never go into a partnership like that.
Wow.
And if they haven't got it yet, I go, I just described an IRA or 401k to you.
And that particular partner also has a gun.
Yeah.
Pointed at you.
That's
It's like,
right.
you have to go into that partnership if you want to do that, yeah.